Two loudest arisings in you right now? What are the two loudest? What are you hearing? What are the thoughts that you're hearing? Voices, the parts, or maybe it's a sensation or a discomfort or joy. What are the two loudest parts for you right now? And as you hear them, it might be, oh, haven't seen Ray, or I don't know if we know, I even know Amanda. I haven't seen Ray in a while. I don't know if I know Amanda. And what's this group going to be like today? It might be thinking about what am I having for lunch? What am I doing later? My to-do list. Think, gosh, I have a lot I need to be doing. I can't believe I'm stepping away and playing with my friends on Zoom. What are your what are the two loudest thoughts for you right now? And where do you hear them? Where do you hear the thought? Where do you hear the words? Or is it more of an image or more of a sensation? What are you aware of in this space of you? Where do you hear it? Is it in your head that you hear the thought? Or is it more a sensation in the belly? Or is it more thought that's in front of you? Or is it an echo from far away happening in the theater of you, the theater of Anne, Inga, Sarah, Ray, Jack, Antonio, and Amanda? See if you can find a sense of a location for each of those, for those two loudest arisings in you. Sense of a location. And there's a sense of we're aware of them, we're aware of these arisings, we're aware of these sensations. In an IFS, we just label those as parts, this that we're aware of, and this that we're aware from. This space, this awareness, this presence, this beingness, this connectedness, this love, this ok-ness, whatever your word is for it. I'd like to invite you to join me in sinking into that. We sink into the background. Maybe it's just emptiness. Maybe it's love. Maybe it's stillness, presence, awareness, flow, aliveness. That we know is kind of like the sky is always here as an essence of our nature. And my invitation is kind of like driving a car. As we're driving the car, kind of resting as this quality of self, this beingness, driving the car. When you think you're driving the car, the attention is on, okay, I'm driving. Then we hear, we're aware of a part. We're aware of a part, but we don't completely leave. We stay as this beingness, because otherwise we'd have a car accident, right? And we rest as this beingness and still be aware of the parts, but we're driving. We're driving the car. Oh, there's a bird, there's a squirrel. Oh, I know that person's house. We're aware of that. Or, oh God, my stomach hurts. But we're still driving the car. Something has learned to stay there. Can the same thing happen with this beingness, with this causeless ok-ness? Could it be that simple? And this is the effortless EIFS first view. And then from here, once we can drive, once we can rest here, once we know the self, then from here, just like when we're driving a car and we're eating a sandwich and we're talking on the phone and we're playing with the radio, then from here, you just be aware of those two parts in the sense of even welcoming them. Oh, they can be here too. That's no problem. It's like I'm drinking my drink while I'm driving. I'm drinking the coffee. Still driving. I'm still staying home. I'm still here. I'm still aware. And that's all the effortless EIFS second view is Rumi's guest house, is welcoming what's here. But we have to stay to welcome. There's a welcoming from self, welcoming from this presence, this beingness. See if that can happen in you right now from here, from this background, sense of being aware of those two loudest parts and just open and welcoming them just the way they are. Where a lot of the healing occurs, just in that. So simple. And the third view from here is if you're like, but what about non-duality? What about this place that Jack speaks of and Ray speaks of so often, and Inga, this non-duality? Antonio points us to, and Sarah and Anne, this non-duality, these glimpses of that. From here, resting as beingness, aware of our parts, then there's just a little inquiry. Are those parts completely separate from the beingness that they're arising in? Are they completely separate from this? Can we find that beingness pervades in the parts themselves, in the contractions, in the wants, that they are perhaps also of that? That's all this non-duality is. It's just everything is of this. Everything is of self, pervaded by self. Is there a glimpse of that in your system as you notice your parts? And in a moment, we'll just come back together. But as we come back together, as you gently open your eyes, does anything change? Or is it still, I'm here. This beingness is still here. And maybe as we notice each other, there's just a sense of, oh, this beingness, there's more of a sense of connectedness. It's not just me and my square. There's 7 of us with you, and maybe you just notice this connectedness, and perhaps even for your parts, the parts that were being welcomed from self in your square. It's like, is it just you that's welcoming them, or is there like this shared beingness that welcomes your parts? Is something different for your parts, that there's 7 of us with you? So that's a lot. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. That was a lot. We can just shake all that off because we're just playing today. We're just playing together. No place to go. We're already here. We're already here. No place to go. There's no there. There's just this. Just here. Before we go on, I just wanted to, Amanda, we do something different in this group, and that we kind of pretend that we're in the same living room together, although like Inga's kind of like driving circles around us. It's like we're sitting in the living room together, and we find that it's really helpful with that when we have our cameras on and we can see each other. And if that's not comfortable now, I do other large groups, so everybody's welcome to come as they are. Just wanted to check in with you on that. Mm.
Sure, this is just very early for me, and so I'm not quite pulled together, but I can work on that.
Would you? I mean, you're welcome to come back. I do these all the time. You can come back and join us another time, or if you'd like to stay with us today. What you feeling, Amanda? How you doing?
So I am hearing that having the camera on is a requirement, and I'm willing to do that. I just need a couple of minutes.
Okay, great, great. Hmm. How was that? How was that? How was this exploration for everybody? Let me just do my little disclaimer first. Just as you, but I want to invite us all as I do this, just to stay with what's here for you, with the how are you, with what's here, what's happening in your system, what's your foreground, what's the background, how are you? And then my quick housekeeping that I'm a mediator, not a psychotherapist. So it's not the EIFS of psychotherapy. Friends and colleagues coming together. If everyone's good with being responsible for their own journeys today, could I get a thumbs up, please? And then secondly, I have this being recorded. Only my square will ever be shared. However, the audio that you speak today might be included in sharing electronically with others who are not here. And as always, there's no need to share anything you're uncomfortable with. We don't go into the stories of the parts here. Instead, we are interested in what the parts are longing for, what you are longing for. And then we help us find that that's here now. And if you find you say something you're uncomfortable with, stay with me at the end and let me know, and I'll just delete it. If everybody's good with that, if I could get a thumbs up, please. Awesome. Hey, Amanda, welcome to our group. I don't know you. Welcome. Hi. So how was that? What's here for you? What's arising? It was as we did our little intro exploration. What's going on? Who wants to share? Who wants to go first? Ray! Oops, muted.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll share, and I also want to name I'll need to leave shortly before the end of the hour, so just to give you a heads up.
Absolutely. Ray, this is really important. We need you to give us a minute to wave farewell to you when you're leaving.
Okay.
Okay. It's like, okay, I gotta leave now.
I will send a message and I will wave to yeah. Appreciate the intention for connection there. That's beautiful. Um yeah, what I really yeah, I got a lot of as a little of a shift for me in that driving the car analogy. And to keep the sense of, okay, where are we going towards? And I'm like deepening into, I might call it silence, stillness, or peace. um but yeah, and kind of keeping my eye on the road. I just like that analogy, and that's going to be helpful for me going through the day. It's been a helpful shift right now because sometimes I get pulled off by the kids who are arguing in the backseat of the car. And those are my, yeah, you feel me, Amanda. And those kids that are there, there's like one um yeah, infant who I believe you may know, Sid, that's kind of whining, and there's another, I'm not sure if there's probably another older kid and a teenager that are just like, gosh, we don't know what to do with this infant that's crying. And there's compassion for the infant, and there's just like, I don't know how to care for this infant. Um and whew, yeah,
How
it
about
goes.
how about that, Ray? I mean, that's a lot just right there, Ray. Like here we are in the car, and there's this silence, there's stillness, there's peace as kind of raised qualities of beingness. Qualities of beingness, here we are. And then there's like all this erupting from the back seat. There's this whining infant. It's whining infant. Just for all of us, we don't want to miss this. This is the joy. This is why I love doing this as a group instead of one-on-one, because we've got Ray Ballard here telling, we're getting his leadership and what's happening in his system. Like, can we all find that? We're driving the car, and then there's an infant in the back whining. And first with Ray, as Ray shares this, do we not have, like, as we hear that see that infant in Ray's car, like compassion for, like, notice how you respond. What's responding in you to what's occurring in Ray? Is there compassion for the infant? Does it come from, do we meet Ray's system from self? Or are we meeting from a part that's like, oh, we need to fix that. We need to do something. We need to do something about help the infant. We need to help Ray. Where are you hearing this? How are you meeting this in Ray's system? We hear about the infant, and we have the teenager and this older part that are like, can feel, what do we do about this? Maybe a little overwhelmed. How do you meet that in Ray's system? And how do you meet it in your own system? The whining infant in the back seat. Do you notice a part that comes up that wants to help, fix, relieve, use some psychology method, some skillful means, a spiritual approach? Or is it, can you also find self? Can you find this that's driving in Ray? It's the silence, the stillness, the peace. Can you find it also being met from beingness in you? Please take us further, Ray. Tell us more.
I notice, as you speak, the deepening of the piece and how to meet this, because there are older psychotherapist parts that are trying to figure out what the infant needs and trying to fix and trying to heal, and there's nothing wrong with that, of course. And there is this one who's just driving a car, and there's the road, there's the the nature that's in the background on the road. I kind of miss seeing Inga driving, because it really gets me into this analogy. But yeah, so yeah, feeling a sense of ease, and a sense of that infant being welcome here. The infant's coming with us.
So here so driving, infants whining. In the midst of the whining, in the midst of the psychotherapist parts coming and wanting to help, in the midst of the teenager, the other part, older part in the back seat, and it's just for all of us as we're in the car, we've got our parts that are your version of Ray's parts. And maybe there's a lot of whining and a lot of noise right now in some of us. Can there be ok-ness in the midst of this? Ray, you spoke of there's ease here. Can there be absolute causeless ok-ness in the midst of the whining infant, in the midst of the parts that are trying to help? What do you find? How does that make sense in your system? And as Ray is being with this, just for all of us right now, is there causeless ok-ness in the midst of whatever parts are making noise for you right now? Whatever thoughts, maybe, hey, this is, I have things I need to be doing, or my body hurts, or you have a whining infant in the midst of whatever's happening in your system. Is there causeless ok-ness here? Can you touch that? Maybe it's Ray's word, this ease. Is it possible that that can be here in the midst of what's occurring in your back seat? Back to Ray.
The phrase "welcome everything" comes up. Causeless ok-ness, and the infant in these parts, and there's a sense of welcome everything that's in the car. everything that's outside of the car. And then there's a sense of peace with that.
Just for all of us, one of the gifts of being together, because with the IFS, one of the big objectives is self-leadership, right? Getting to know self, getting to know beingness, getting to know flavors of it. Can you feel Ray right now as Ray speaks of this causeless ok-ness? We hear the words, perhaps you could also feel it, like this tuning fork, as he shows us his flavor of this ok-ness. Like this is why people go and be with facilitators and teachers. And by the way, Ray's one of those. He's kind of a well-known teacher of awakened awareness and IFS. So can you feel this? Just feel the beingness that's there, his flavor of it. And there's that. And then Ray, I have a question, this welcoming that's here, this welcoming of the parts, welcoming what's here. Does it require any doing for the welcoming? And just for all of us, for welcoming of what's here, can you find it as a quality of beingness, of self, this that just welcomes effortlessly? How does this play in you, Ray? And in some of us, it's both. Well, I can find some welcoming here, and then I have a part that's really helping welcome, and we love those parts too. How's it play, Ray?
So there's a softening, like a deep sense of love for this infant, for all the parts. Yeah, for what's here itself, for the welcomer itself. Yeah, hard to tell if there is a welcomer per se, but it's like, yeah, there's a deep sense of love that comes up with that.
And then here's a question for the parts in the back seat and for all of us, when there is this welcoming here, when you are welcoming, what's that like for your parts? What's that like for what's arising for you? And if this parts language doesn't work for you, what's it like for you, your body? You can feel it here when there's a sense of welcoming. What's it like for what's arising in you to experience being welcomed, or for your body to experience it somatically being welcomed? What's that like in your system, Ray?
The words that were coming as you're speaking is yeah, I love the infant, even when the infant's crying. The infant's just being an infant, and that's perfectly lovable.
Yeah. And for some of us, we might be like, oh, welcoming. I did that years ago. I don't do that anymore. I'm into the non-dual thing. But it's like I want to suggest that this welcoming that Ray's modeling for us is like this beautiful direct path for some all the way there. If there's truly an unconditional welcoming of everything that arises in us, what happens if truly everything is welcomed? Like, no, I don't like this, no, or an exile that's scared. If it's truly being fully welcome, that Ray's kind of guiding us into this third view that I speak of as we recognize everything is of self, if everything is being welcomed, what happens as everything just relaxes? For some, this is the entire path as they're welcome and they relax into this and they start to. Ray, any kind of final words to tie this all together for us? What you got?
Yeah, there's just a curiosity of what's it like to be the one who's welcoming, and just feeling how that feels to be welcoming.
What do you find? What's the flavor? What do you find?
The flavor is love, is peace, is a a background, is a stillness. Surrender is there too. It's like this infant can be as loud as the infant wants to be.
Hearts can be as loud as they want to be. What about that in your system?
Right.
For all of us, could we really say that? Could we really be okay with our parts being as loud as they want to be, as disruptive as they want to be, that even that is being welcomed? Right. That was so, thank you so much. That was gorgeous. And I'm curious to open this up and to see how it went for people and what's coming up for the group. What's bubbling? What we got? Who wants to share what comes up as you hear Ray share that? Yes. Hey, Amanda. Oops, you're muted now.
I'm not sure what it is. Well, anyway, whatever. So the point is that I don't want it. I don't want to meet those kids where they are. You know, have you ever held a colicky baby that cannot be consoled? I mean, it's like, okay, I don't want to put the baby outside, but how welcoming of all of that. I mean, it affects your central nervous system, right? It's horrifying in a way that is existing in the same space. I just have parts of me that are so resistant to even being willing to be present with that. It's hard.
Let me pause for just a minute as we hear Amanda share this. Notice what is your response to Amanda as she shares this? Yeah, look at Ray. Can we all find this? It's horrifying. It's too much to my nervous system. It's too much. I just so we can receive this gift that Amanda just offered. If we can find our version of that. And notice the parts that come up that might have answers. And then there's just the understanding and welcoming of what she's sharing and the compassion. And notice if we can find our version of it. It's too much. This infant in the back of Ray's car, it's just, come on, I want to enjoy the music, the beauty, the silence. It's just, it's this infant is whining all the time. My nervous system, it's hard. Is it okay? Coming right to you, Anne. Just one follow-up with Amanda. Is it okay if there's like, it's just too much right now? It's too much. It's too much. We have like a wise protector part that's like, that's just a little too much for my nervous system right now. We're not going to go there. Is that okay that the system does that? How the other anything with that, Amanda?
No, I'm just, I'm fine with raised infant. I don't even think of it as whining. It's just trying to get its needs met. It's just my own intolerance.
Yeah.
They struggle into the front seat and grab the wheel. I mean, it's chaos in here.
Yes. So it's just how about that? As we hear Amanda's her own intolerance, can we find a part in our system that's intolerant, that says, God, there's chaos in here. They come and they grab the wheel. Come on. And then my question for all of us is, can you see the innocence and the beauty of that, the one that's intolerant, and the way it, Dick Schwartz, no bad parts. Every part is here to serve us. So the one that's intolerant, that says, no, can we welcome that and just appreciate that and how it's serving us? That we're not playing some spiritual game that we've got to go and join Jack and Inga in the like spacious being, or go where Ray's been pointing us to, and the silence and the stillness. We're including it all. It's a celebration of the life that's arising in us. Thank you so much, Amanda. Anne, what's coming up for you?
Oh, I want to cry. I didn't think I was going to cry. I thank you, Ray, for what he said, for your beingness, really. talking, I thought, oh my God, I shouldn't say anything um, because the kids in the back of my car are raucous, also like Amanda's. And I mean, when you said, what are the two things? What are the two parts, or whatever you said about where you are right now? I felt a child in me, and one part was curious about people driving and people traveling. And I have this story that because I'm really anxious about traveling, that people who travel are somehow greater beings than I am. And then there was a child that was keeping score, that when you said to, I think it was Sarah, we see Sarah smiling, and I thought, I was smiling too. What's wrong with me? And, you know, I feel so ashamed sometimes when I come here, and I just feel these childish parts of me that I don't know anything about non-duality, or I don't think I do. And I come here because, why do I come here? Because I like Sid, and I like the way he talks to people and brings people out. And yeah, I mean, that's to start off.
No. Wow. Wow.
I feel ashamed.
When you okay, Anne, when there's this, I feel ashamed. Can we track that? We don't want to miss it. This is the good stuff. It sounds strange, but it's like, we can talk about Sarah's joy, but I want to say this is the good stuff right here. Yeah, Amanda knows this. It's like I feel ashamed. It's like we don't want to miss this. Where do you find this? What's the voice of it? Where is it in your body? Is it a thought, an image, a sensation?
Oh, it's in my stomach. It's in my head. It's in my arms. For a long time in my life, I have essential tremor, and for a long time in my life, it made my hands and arms shake.
Yes.
Until I had a surgery that has stopped the shaking a lot, but I can still feel it in my arms, like.
Got it.
Yeah.
So question about this, and question for all of us. This shame. I mean, even if there's a tremor, feeling the stomach, head, arms, then Anne's pointing to first, what's your version of it? How do you find this? Nothing here is foreign. Nothing Anne's pointing to is foreign to any of us. We all know this. We know this well. What's your version of the shame? And where do you find this? How does it come up in you? How do you know it somatically? She's describing it in her system somatically. And then I'm going to ask a really kind of a mean, hard question. This shame, as we feel the shame, as we know the shame, is the bliss and love better than the shame? If one of us is speaking, oh, there's just bliss, there's just love, there's just unity here, there's just stillness. Is that better than there's shame here? There's shimmer, there's tremoring, there's discomfort. And we really, this is the really, really deep stuff. Like if we can really go into the shame and see the beauty, if we can't do it in our own system, maybe we can see it in Anne's. We can see the innocence of this, the innocence of the shame, the beauty of it, and that it's all the same. Where do you go with that as we hear Anne speaking of the shame? Is it any different than hearing Ray speak of the ease that's here? Precious expression of life that's happening in us. How you doing, Anne?
I feel like what I feel about the ease is that that's what people come here for, and I'm disrupting the situation. And so, you know, these disruptive children, my parts, have been flailing around for my whole life, and
And I want to share something with
can I
this.
just say one
Oh,
more thing?
please.
What I want in my life is the beingness and the ease that Ray was demonstrating for us, and I can't fake it. I don't have that yet, and I can't fake it, and I'm tired of trying to fake it. I'm tired of trying to be better than I am, or whatever. And thank you for listening to me.
Absolutely. Oh, and just to check in, as we've got our 7 friends with us, with you, 7 of us with you. How's it going for everyone as we hear this? And Anne, just notice what's happening in your system. Yeah, just notice what's happening. Notice the parts that are coming up, and then the beingness that's meeting her, that's here. And notice how you can relate to what Anne's sharing. Oh, we're coming here for what Ray's pointing to. We're coming here for the ease, the silence, the stillness, the peace, right? We can all find that on one level, right? And that's kind of what we started with. That's the first view in effortless IFS, which is just that kind of the discernment between what Ray was pointing to, between the driver and the back seat, the easy ok-ness of the driver, and then what's happening in the back seat. But that's just one way of playing with this. And it's almost like the beginner place that we're playing with. Like you're taking us much deeper, Anne, in this. You're taking us into more subtlety. Because this is where Ray took us afterwards, was to welcoming of what is. Remember where he went to this place of welcoming what is. And it's different. The welcoming is different than the either or. It's like, okay, either or. We're just going to have the kids in the back seat, and then I'm in the front seat, and the kids are in the back seat, and I just want to stay in the front seat and just kind of ignore the kids, and just they can do their thing. Your system, you've got, maybe it's impossible to do that, right? It's just all here, and it's loud. And then there's a sense of there's another way in here, which is kind of where we were going, which is if we could see the innocence of what's rising in you, if we could appreciate the shame, like this, I'm gonna suggest this is the depth. Might be the deepest place we go today, and where we're going with Anne's system. That this might be the greatest gift of who's sharing what Anne's sharing with us. And yeah, Amanda, we can hear the shame that's there. Like if we can see the innocence and beauty of that, and if there's some place in us where we can see that it's not a problem, when Ray took us there with the welcoming, that the shame is not a problem, that it's just, it's what's arising, and we start to see the innocence of it. How are you doing, Anne?
I'm doing better. thank you for everything. Thank you for yourself, Sid. And thank everybody for being here with me on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just thing, Anne, like you talked about, you said, but what I really want is what Ray was pointing to. What I really want is that. And can we all relate to that? Because this is kind of the game as we watch the YouTube people and we hear Dick and say, it's like, hey, I just want that peace. I want self leadership. I want that. But can we hear that want is coming from a part? See if we can find, for all of us, if we can find that part. Like we heard it in Anne, and you'll hear it in me. You'll hear it in most of us. The spirit, like for me, I call it the spiritual achiever. It's like, yes, that's what I want. But see if you can find it as a part, the one that wants the ease, the peace, the ok-ness. That wants what kind of where I was inviting us to feel in Ray. It's just a part that wants that. The self doesn't, the beingness doesn't, it just is. Any final thoughts, Anne, in this gift that you're sharing us? I just don't want anybody to miss the gift of Anne today.
I want to hear from other people.
Thank you so much, Anne. So let me just open it up. What's bubbling? This is so much what we've heard from Ray and Anne. What's bubbling? What's your response? Anything what comes up as you hear this beauty of our friend Anne? Have you not just fallen in love with Anne? Have you just fallen in love with her? I got something that's bubbling on that. Just what is Anne evoking you? Yeah, Antonio.
It brought on so much tenderness and compassion, really. I thought it was really funny what you said about.
And Tony, are you able to talk closer to your mic or something? Where we're losing you a little bit.
I think it's the
Ooh, that's worse.
no, it's my head. Is better?
Yes.
Is this? Thank you. Sorry. So yeah, I found it funny that when she said that she wanted the beingness, and I felt like for all of us, she was bringing on so much beingness. It was, and as you said later, like it's so much easier sometimes to get in touch with compassion by witnessing other people's experience. And it just made so much sense. What she was sharing, these feelings. I feel like an enormous gratitude because I was coming from I was the first thing that I noticed today was this part that I was dreading, just having this time to pause and the stillness around their experience. It was like, oh no, not again, really? Are you gonna make me do this? Like, I don't want to sit through this hour. It's like, I really don't want to do it. And I was struggling with that feeling for a little bit until you invited us to notice the ok-ness with that. Because that helped me really notice that in spite of that part being there was an acceptance around it. It was like, okay, I know you. It wasn't spoken, so it was a bit difficult to notice at first. But when you mentioned it, I was like, oh, that's already here. That's also here. And then when Anne shared, and before her, Amanda, their experiences, there was something so raw and real and authentic for me that it made me feel like those were the things that I was coming here for, at least today. I don't know if that makes sense, but just witnessing that authenticity is what made me get in touch with that beingness, funnily enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really thank you both for your contribution.
Thank you, Antonio. What does it open for us when we hear sharings like Amanda's and Anne's, that these parts that the shame can be welcome, can be here. The intolerance that Amanda speaks of, Ray's whining child, when all of that can be here, and when Antonio can say, I just really didn't want to be here. I didn't want to go into this open space. When all of that can be here, what's that like for you? Does it give more space for your parts, more okayness for your parts to be here? And maybe that's part of our game here, is being a space where the parts can be welcomed, where we get the help of our friends that make it safer. What else is coming up as we hear our friends share today? Anything else bubbling before we go to whoever's going next? Anything else bubbling, Jack, Sarah, Inga, Amanda, before we put the spotlight on whoever wants to share next?
Something Amanda shared about how the infant, the inconsolable infant, and then how this infant, it just wants its needs to be met. And that brought a sense of relief, like, oh, if I have an infant that is inconsolable, well, if I just give it what it needs, then that's that. And it just made me want to check in with the infant, like, what do you need? Why are you crying? And then the beautiful gift of Anne, like she just, I feel like she kind of like blended with with that infant for a minute. and and like the sense of shame, it brought up for me like moments of shame from childhood, like being that infant, or being a toddler or being a child in the car and feeling that shame of like having to be there, and feeling ashamed about being a fussy child, like, oh, you need to shut up right now. You can't do this. We need to focus on the road. We want to enjoy this trip. You're ruining our time. So there's that sense of shame. And I realized, oh, that shame is just coming from feelings of something is wrong with me. That child feels like, oh, something's wrong with me. I'm doing something wrong. So I feel ashamed. And just having some space from that child, not being so blended with it, is just, it's okay. You can cry, you can be fussy, and just the sense of welcoming, that raised welcoming of that child, that infant. Nothing is wrong with you. You're okay. You're welcome here. And when that infant feels welcomed and loved, it doesn't have to cry anymore. You just need to check in. What does it need? Maybe it's more love, more attention, whatever it needs. There's no such thing as an inconsolable infant. Every infant can be consoled when they're giving what they need. And that there's just so much relief in that, knowing like, oh, thank God, this baby, I can make it shut up if I just give it what it needs. Like there's just that knowing. So yeah, there's just so much comfort in that knowing. And then when Antonio said, oh, I don't want to be here and be still for an hour, I also felt like, oh, maybe Antonio is also blended with that infant. Like you know, it's brought up also memories from childhood. Like, I don't want to be here in this car. I don't want to shut up for the next hour or 2 or 3 hours on the road. I want to be fussy. I want to play. I want to get out of the car. You know, it brought up these feelings. And I felt like, okay, so like, I feel like we kind of, all of us got blended maybe a little bit with the infant in the background. And that's just so beautiful. I really appreciate it. And especially Anne. Thank you so much, Anne.
Maybe we all got blended with the infant in the backseat of our cars. It wasn't just Ray's car. It wasn't just the infant in the back of Ray's car. That we all know this. How was that for you, what Sarah just shared for all of us? What was that? What's that like?
My input feels very seen and cared for in what Sarah said. I really appreciate that.
I was going to say acceptance. Just beautiful, soft acceptance. That's what I got from Sarah just now.
I feel like Sarah pretty much modeled how to be welcoming of the inconsolable infant. And while I'm not sure that a child can always be consoled, I'm hopeful that she's right about that.
I love Sarah's focus on asking the child, asking the part, what does it need? What does it really want? Whatever the expression of the part is, what is it that you really want? Who has something? Who would like to go next? Like, we haven't even heard from Inga and Jack today, except for Inga driving at the very beginning. Who wants to go next? Who's got something bubbling? Who wants to share how your system's working today, or making sense of all of this richness that we've been hearing from Anne and Ray and Antonio and Amanda and Sarah? How's it all coming together in you? What's happening in you? Inga, Jack, anything there? Or we can just open it up and see what's coming for the group. Oh, Inga is coming back. There's Inga. She's still driving. Yay!
Oh, I thought I was on camera. Sorry, I had to put my my navigation system on. So, and I thought the camera was still running, so I apologize for that. I'm in a weird space today, I have to say. I really appreciate everything you shared, and it's just I don't know, there are a lot of parts and there's a lot of space in between the parts. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. So that's what's going on. You know, there's a lot of space, a lot of calm, and a lot of parts at the same time. And I'm driving to a weekend retreat. And I have no idea. Well, I know where to stay overnight, but I have no idea. Well, I paid the what's it called, the fee. I didn't get any answer back when I asked. And so I'm just driving here. I have no idea how this is all gonna be like. And you know, in between, I had a part coming up.
So what's this? What's it like with this, Inga? Lots of parts. And hey, I'm driving to this retreat. I don't really know what's going on. I'm just going. And there's another part you were about to point to. But then you're describing, and there's also a lot of space here. There's a lot of space here, and there are a lot of parts. But just for all of us, a lot of parts and a lot of space. And Inga gave a sense for her, the space had a quality of calm. She described calm. Like, how can you find what Inga's pointing to here? Lots of parts and lots of space. Can those be here simultaneously? Parts and the space. And just for all of us, Inga used the word calm. What's your word for the space? And lots of parts. What's the feel of the parts? Lots of parts. What's the feel of the parts? Is it like anxiety, like Inside Out, the anxiety character? Is it fear? Is it excitement? What are the parts? And then what's the space? Tell us more, Inga.
I can feel the parts really somatically. And when you shared about the shame, I was like, I know that in my system, there's a lot of shame, man. And it's so amazing to almost when the story falls away, there's still the somatic experience of it. So I feel the parts in my body. And I'm also amazed that I feel them in places that I've never had any sensation before. And I'm driving through a tunnel, by the way, so that's why it's so dark in here. I'm so sorry. To me, it's amazing how this all can change. You know, how there are sensations in new places, and for me, I could feel the shame. I feel it all over my body. It's very easy to tap into that. And at the same time, it's so okay. So there's just an okayness in it all. A joy.
Oh, I
So,
think,
yeah.
is that Ray leaving? It is. Oh, everybody's pause for just a minute. Say goodbye to our friend Ray and say, please come back
Hi,
soon.
Ray.
We loved having you here.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah.
Appreciate the space. Thank you, Sid, for hosting. Take care.
Thank you, Ray.
Oh.
I have to go for a second on this to look where I have to go here. Oh, yeah, I have to leave. Okay.
So Inga's, as she's doing this, Inga's describing that in the midst of, she can feel the shame. She can feel shame somatically. She can feel the parts, lots of parts. At the same time, she describes there's an okayness here. Does that sound like crazy to you when you hear that? Or do we know that, can we taste this? Can we find this? Can we find this? Like, this is really, even in the midst of the shame and the conflict and the tension in the child in the back seat, in the helper parts, in the no, and the resistance, and that one Amanda pointed to, that intolerant one. No, in the midst of all of that, can we still taste somewhere there's some okayness here? Maybe you have a different word for it instead of okayness. Maybe it's presence. Maybe it's stillness. Maybe it's the space that Inga pointed to. What else, Inga?
I guess that's mostly it. I have a part that it is taking over saying, well, I'm lost in Berlin.
Okay. All right. Well, that was a lot.
No,
Thank you
this
for
is
sharing
really
that.
fun. No, this is so much fun, you know. It's like, well, how much do I need those parts to drive the car? You know, it's like, it's almost like the car is driving itself, but then there's a moment like now, like, oh, I'm lost. I think I should pay some attention to my GPS, to my navigation system. Gosh, this is so much. This is so good to be here. You know, when you asked what parts are here, I had this part like, uh-oh, I'm going to be late, traffic jam, all that stuff. You know, I don't know what's going to come. But then there was also this joy. And it was a joy coming from a part saying, yay, my friends are here, you know. So just wanted to share that.
Nice.
And
Thank
I
you.
don't feel very spiritual today. I feel very, very human, and it's great. I love it.
Isn't that perfect? Because it can be confused, right? Like what Anne was saying, like we can often think this is a spiritual group. But isn't there a yumminess in what Inga's sharing with us? Just like being really engaged in life. Like she's, I'm lost in Berlin. I don't know where I'm going. And I'm going someplace. I don't even know if I'm going to be welcome there. And it's like all the parts. These are just the parts that are there. And in the midst of that, she described a space and an okayness and a calm. What about that? I mean, this is the real life, real life, real life. Any kind of final words on this, Inga, before we open it back up?
Gosh, I just want to say I'm very surprised, that my parts are usually so fearful. And I know that a couple of months ago I would be freaking out in this situation and like, yeah, well, let's see. Worst thing that can happen is I'm going to drive back home tonight. So I'm really enjoying this journey. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you. So for all of us, what's the worst? Inga said the worst thing that could happen. Byron Katie used to say, the worst thing that could happen is just that I believe a thought. That's how in her world, that's how she does it. In EIFS terms, for some of us, the worst thing that can happen is just that I'm blended, I'm identified with a part, and I'm lost in a part, and I'm innocently confused. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? The worst thing that could happen. If it truly is the sense of the sky, our nature is the sky, the beingness, this okayness that Inga's speaking of, this calm, if that's the background, it's just like Byron Katie says, it's believing a thought, or for us, it's identifying, it's blending with a part. How do we do? Anything coming up from Inga's share before we kind of see where we're going next? Yeah, Anne.
Thank you for taking us with you, Inga, on your trip. And I just really appreciate your sharing and your pleasure at on this journey that you're on, taking us with you. So, yeah.
Anything else bubbling in response to Inga? A heart from Sarah. Oh, there's someone we haven't heard from at all. Like literally, not even a whipper. What do they say? Not even a sound yet today from our friend Jack. Although I've been seeing expressions, there's not a sound. Jack, give us some sound.
Yeah. I just been you talk about a background, but feels more like a foreground of just like bliss and love. Yeah. It's the idea of welcoming, right? How do you I've said this before, but how do I welcome someone who lives with me? Oh, I see you there, right? But it's not like I'm welcoming a stranger, right? So it's got to be something a little different there. It's like things arise, right? Of course, parts arise and stuff. And the idea of them being gifts is like the same idea for me as like them all being offerings, right? So what do I do if someone gives me a gift, right? I look at it and appreciate it. Oh, wow, they gave me a gift. How nice, And then, what do I do with it? Well, I don't know. I might hang it up in the bathroom if it's my granddaughter's stuff, or I might show it to you guys if it's something my granddaughter did. Here you go. Here's a gift from my granddaughter, right? But then it's not like I can appreciate the gifts, right? And I do appreciate all the gifts that everyone's brought to the meeting, but on the same in the same way, I can let them go, right? I don't have to get, because IFS people would say blended, right? Doesn't, if it feels like that, welcoming them coming and welcoming them when, you know, saying bye, or welcome when they have to go too, or like the same, you know, two, the heads and tails of the same coin, you know. So yeah, but it really does. So what's the worst thing that could go? What could happen? You know, I can imagine all kinds of things that, you know. So that's an interesting question. I mean, I don't even know where that would go. It's like, maybe I told you this story before, but it's like, I stopped drinking beer when I was in Germany. I was in a bar. I was trying to keep up with the other Germans. I'm not German. Maybe Inga can understand this maybe better than some of you. But I was trying to keep up with these guys in Germany who like to drink beer, right? And I'm sitting at the bar and I look and I go, "Where's the kegs for the beer?" And they go, "Oh, we don't have any kegs. We're piped right into the factory across the street." So it was literally the beer was being piped like water under the street to the. And I'm thinking, wow, like Bliss on tap. It's just like it's not, there's not a limited keg there. It's like it's going back to the factory, man. It's like they can make it all the time, right? So it's like a little bit like that. It's like, and you talk about a background, but it's that freedom, you know, of the freedom that being this awareness that's this, can't say anything about it, right? It's like it's like a no thing, and not nothing, but a no thing kind of. The freedom from that, right, is just always there, right? Now, do things obstruct it? Sure, I guess they can. And then when that sort of is transcended and included into this like wholeness, this headless space where everything's arising where you thought your head was, right? That feeling of love, it's not a, it's a, we'll call it a feeling. Like, it's not a thought, right? It's not like, oh, I need to make myself love something. It's not like that at all, right? So having both those like on tap, if you will, you know, is just kind of where I'm coming from. And yeah, I mean, everything's a gift, right? It's all a gift. So
Jack, let me
thank you for
pause.
your gift.
I don't go. I want to
Let him
pause.
go.
Let me pause
I'm
for
okay.
just a
I'm
minute
good.
with this.
I'm complete.
Oh, just a sec, because this is just the two things that with Jack sharing. Just how's this playing for you? When he shares a little bit of confusion about welcoming, can you follow that? I don't understand the welcoming because they're already coming to you in just a moment, Sarah, with that. But like this welcoming, it's like, how can I welcome something that's already here? It's already home. It's already here in my home. It's already part of me. How can I welcome that? Knows if you can get a taste of that Jack is demonstrating, that how it's playing for him with the welcoming. This is where it kind of goes to that third view, that it just kind of opens if we can get a taste of that from him. And then have to go. Oh, from Sarah, she has to go. Hang on a minute. Sarah, say something to us. I didn't know you were waving.
Thank you so much, Sid. Thank you, everyone. I hope to see you soon, but I really have to go.
Sarah, just as you go, thank you so much. Thank you so. Did you notice for all of us when you were sharing, there was, because usually I have a lot to say. There was just nothing that could be said after you spoke. I was just like, wow. Really? And you probably could see this in all of us. I forget, it was Antonio who said that while Sarah was just speaking it all for us, and however that was, it was just, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Because I think I should leave too, because I get a little bit like into lost in Berlin. So thank
I
you.
know, and you just heard after when Jack's going, he's really going to mess you up.
I
Inga,
think so. Gosh,
good
I have to
luck with the
turn.
weekend,
Well,
and I'd love
thank
to
you.
send me a voice message. I'd love to hear about it with what happens.
Okay,
And
I will. Well, thank you.
good to be. Thanks for taking us with you.
Thank
Bye.
you all so much. Bye bye.
And,
Oh my. Uh, back to Jack for a moment. Just the sense of the way he's talking about the welcoming, and then I love the beer on tap story where it's like infinite beer, infinite bliss, infinite love. And I'm wondering how you make sense of that in your system. This sense of like this love, this presence, this awareness, this okayness, that it's not coming from a limited place. The beer is tapped right in to the factory. Well, anything else with all that, Jack?
Yeah, I really don't drink, so it's not really beer, right? It's something else.
Well, we haven't. We like doing like this. We try to have time to do the spotlight on everybody to share what's going on in them, and with Antonio and Amanda, we've gotten pieces of it, and I'm wondering if either of you guys would like to share more about what's happening. Amanda, would you like to share more about anything that's happening in you, how this is all playing?
I apologize for being so tired, but this is early for me in the morning. Yeah, I've really gotten a lot out of this idea of welcoming. It sort of like puts you in a position where you're able to detach, or what is it that we say, not blend with the parts. It's sort of like to unblend. And it seems to me that that's what Jack was talking about. It's like, yeah, you don't have to welcome something that's just present naturally. And there is a natural acceptance from that space. And this idea, I think it was Inga who said the space between the feelings, between the parts. And it seems like that may also be what I think of as higher self, the container for all the parts. And so it's, yeah. So I'm getting a lot out of it. And the idea that the worst case scenario would be that you accidentally get confused with identifying as one of your parts or some of them.
mm-hmm.
So those have all been really big concepts for me today. Thank you.
Oh, how's that for all of us? What Amanda just shared. How's that? And I loved your word. Oh, sorry, Jack.
No, Amanda, I get it. One of the things that was slightly different, but not exactly different, people talking about a sense of shame. And I sort of noticed that for me, shame isn't what I would call it. It's almost like it goes two ways for me, shame. It can go like, yeah, I really probably shouldn't do that again. That was a mistake, right? That's one way, and that's pretty easy, right? Oh yeah, I could change that, blah, blah, blah. Or the other one that I've really been noticing that I've been trying to accept is a part that just turns that into righteous indignation. Like, how dare you think that's what I was doing? How, like the falsely accused, like you're trying to, I did not do that. You're falsely accused. That for me, that turns into righteous indignation pretty quickly. And just seeing that, like you're saying, seeing that and not blending with it necessarily is something that I've noticed that yeah, I just wonder if other people ever get that at all? Or yeah.
Let me ask you about this. Like the righteous indignation. Like I find that different than what Anne was sharing with us with the shame. Like as Anne like took us down into the depth of the shame and we could feel it, and she was, sharing that with us. And then we often have protectors that come up and respond to it. And like when I hear the righteous indignation, I kind of hear a protector at play. How does
Oh
that,
yeah.
but I'm just guessing.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a protector that goes, how dare you falsely accuse me of how, a protector comes up very, very strongly. Uh, but I was, it's, so I'm either go with the protector protecting what someone's trying to do to me, or it's sort of like a manager going, yeah, okay, you made a mistake, or you could be doing that differently. So it
Yeah.
either agrees with
Mhm.
with whatever the source of shame is.
Yes.
There's two sides of that, right? That's what, but there's two sides of it, and for me, I always like separate those out. I'm not saying it's the same thing that Anne was talking about at all. I'm just saying that um, it seems to resolve itself pretty quickly, uh, especially if I notice the righteous
Uh-huh.
indignation, and I can really say, "Yeah, okay, you're right." So but that just came up really strongly, and I'm just saying that her talking about shame brought that up in me. I'm not trying to project that. I don't think I'm trying to project that on anybody else, but
No, I didn't get that. I thought you were talking about yourself, your process.
So isn't it fascinating with what Jack's sharing with like almost like what when we start to feel shame in us, and then I'd like to go to Antonio and hear what's happening with him. It's like the when shame is here, our precious protector parts that come in, like Jack's given us a couple, and from I have ones that'll just like it'll be like a firefighter will come in, shame will be here. It's like I don't want to feel that. Where's the pizza? Where's the Netflix? Get me the hell out of here. It's like just to notice what comes up in our systems when shame is touched. I mean, I don't think I'm as courageous as Anne to go where she went, and it's like to go deeply into that. It's like sometimes I just don't want to touch it, and just to notice how our system responds to shame. And then I had one other thing. I loved Amanda's word, natural acceptance. Like she was just saying like this, it's just a natural acceptance here. It's just and I loved how Anne described that, and then she described the parts and the sense of the space being the container. The container. I love that. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Jack. And let's go. And Antonio, is there? I know there was some like resistance to like being here in the space today. How's it going? How's your system going? What would you like to share with us?
Thanks for asking. That's, I feel like that has settled. Like that's not activated as it was earlier. I think today was the first time that I consciously perceived how all of us coming together, this thing that I've heard it so many times, and you mentioned it today too, how there's a shared sense of self that naturally arises when we get together. And I had never been able to notice it. And even though I felt it thousands of times, but I've never, I never put two and two together. And today it just became, evident for the first time. Oh, so this is what it means. Again, just witnessing how human we all are. And you know, which also really helps with shame,
Mm.
right? Like, yeah, I feel like somehow at the core of shame, sorry, a train is going by. I feel like at the core of shame, there's this fear that we are uniquely, that we are like, like there's this fear of being like, at least in my case, you know, for me, there's this fear of being uniquely flawed or wrong, or so I guess that's why, one of the reasons why I come here, because even if I wasn't able to put my finger on it.
And this, tell us more about this that was experienced today, this set open, this shared sense of self. How did that open? What was different today?
I'm not sure if I can explain it. Um, you know, it just became like obvious that while I had arrived with this very activated part that felt like it did, you know, like it didn't want to be here, and then noticing the ok-ness, and then just witnessing how, you know, the climate of my system, you know, that however that had been shaping my mood, and how then it shifted by, you know, witnessing Anne, and how you just said, you know, how courageously she got in touch and she shared, you know, her sense of shame. I think that that was really moving for me, you know, that she was so, that she trusted us so much to go there, you know, before our very eyes. That's so vulnerable. And I really admired that courage. And, or, you know, a part of me was like, wow, wow, I can't believe she's that brave. And I think just I don't know, just that I think that's probably what cracked it open, like my system. And then you mentioning the shared self, it was like, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Like, if I hadn't been here, just, you know, witnessing humanity expressing through Anne and through everyone else here, I wouldn't have been able to tap into self energy, because it was, you know, my parts are way more, some of my parts are way more compassionate for other people's parts than my own. And I guess that makes sense, right? Because, you know, our parts grow in this conflict ridden climate sometimes, and they're so polarized with each other, and it's hard for them sometimes to be compassionate, which makes total sense. But somehow they still keep some of that compassion and they extend it to other people's. And maybe that's why I was able today to tap into the sense of self, like the collective sense of self. And I really appreciate the opportunity to reflect on it.
How does that help Antonio with like the innocent confusion kind of most of us get caught in that you described, this sense of shame? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted, because I love that expression, the innocent confusion. That's so beautiful. Instead of saying blending, the innocent confusion. That's so beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Of seeing something uniquely flawed in us, this that we're calling shame, a uniquely flawed or wrong. How does it help when that comes up, that innocent confusion of being uniquely flawed or wrong, when there is this connectedness to this shared beingness, this shared humanity, this shared self. Oh, and yes.
I just want to say what you just said equals ok-ness for me. You know, when I'm feeling uniquely flawed or wrong, and it's met with people who understand that blending as innocent confusion, that means that it's okay. It's okay for me to be right where I am, which is basically what I want. You know, what I want, and how I can yeah, that's it.
Beautiful. You know, as you share, Anne, it's like I'm hearing the words, but then there's this somatic resonating with you and feeling you, which is just somehow it's even stronger than the words for me. Thank you. And Antonio, is there anything you wanted to share about that what Anne's pointing to, that you shared, this idea of the uniquely flawed or wrong, the sense of the shame in the context of the connectedness, as we're down to 3 minutes left? Any kind of thoughts on that? Any final
You know what
words?
what it brought up for me, it brought me back to the words that Sarah mentioned earlier when she said, it's so relieving to know that, you know, any of my whining children, they can really be, you know, I can really bring peace to them if I just, you know, give them what they need. And for me, that tends to be that acceptance of, you know, just accepting where they are now, as Anne was saying. That's so valuable for me. Like that makes a whole, that's a whole different ball game. It's that's wonderful.
In our final 2 minutes, anything else bubbling that would like to be shared?
Gratitude for you, Sid, and for this group of people today.
Something really happened today, right? That Antonio's pointing to, and that it just, something really seemed to happen that opened up. And I guess I'd like to share, can we all take some responsibility for it? It was our beautiful sharings, that kind of co-created whatever something occurred today. And it was all of us. It was this preciousness of us. Thank you for you, just the way you are. Nothing has to change, just the way you are, all of you, all of those parts.
I just want to say that I thank Amanda for being the first to respond to Ray after he was what he was for us, because you expressed discontent, or I don't know, that might not be what you would call it, but I'm just going to call it that because that's the first word that comes to mind. And that gave me permission to digress from his sense of ease to my sense of shame and whatever else I was sharing. So thank you, Amanda.
Thank you all so much. You'll come back again soon, and I'll see you later.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.